Hey everyone, it's Callum from Cagefront here. Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome to the channel. We have got the UFC 312 recap video here for you today, which was headlined by Dricus Du Plessis and Sean Strickland for their rematch, and I was fortunate enough to go to this event, which was absolutely insane atmospherically. I mean, Australian fans are literally just baseline just nuts. Like, it is so fun, so funny. We had Alexander Topuria getting called a wanker. We had Prado getting called a wanker. We had everyone just being absolutely unhinged, and it was honestly a great event, even though on paper it looked a little bit shit for a pay-per-view, but overall it did deliver. There was a lot of exciting moments within the card, which we're going to go through in this recap video. I'm going to be giving the awards for all the best moments in the card, but I also got to meet some fighters as well. Got to meet Charles Oliveira, got to meet Joanna Jedrzejczyk, she was absolutely lovely, and got to meet Alex Pereira, which I think he was a little bit nervous to meet me, to be honest, I won't lie. And aside from Alex Pereira being a little bit nervous to meet me, clearly, it was a great weekend, going from the fighter meet and greets all the way through to the main event, which is what we're going to get into right now. Dricus Du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. It definitely delivered. On one side, Dricus Du Plessis ran through Strickland. 50-45. Don't know where the hell the 49-46 came from. Dricus dog walked him. I mean, first, second, and third round. Don't know what was going on with Strickland, because Strickland coming out the gates in their first fight, he looked so impressive. Sticking the jab, he had a laser pinpoint jab in that first fight, barely using it. Strickland was starting with the two sometimes, with the straight strike, which in a sense I can understand, because it's something that Dricus might not necessarily see coming. It's a bit offbeat, off tempo, and he can catch Dricus with it, which at times he was, but there just was not enough output in general. And Dricus, through the first, second, and third, he dictated that pace. He had the leg kicks, body kicks, I mean, question mark kicks, high kicks. He had that distance management on lock, and he was landing very nice, strikes in those flurries where he's just flailing his arms everywhere and it just somehow works. He was landing good shots there, and then at the end of the third round he secures the takedown, but one takedown of the fight, which, I mean, if anything, that was like the perfect time to do it, because that is really just showing Strickland like, oh shit, I remember he's got a ground game too, which I need to look out for, which could then lower Strickland's hands. But going into that fourth round, which is what we mainly need to talk about, Strickland, pretty much a minute through, Dricus lands a beautiful shot straight on that nose, straight on the nozzle, absolutely shatters it. Shatters his nose, I believe, in like 6 different places. Strickland backs all the way up to the cage. He's holding his nose. He's trying to readjust it. He's trying to put it back in place. The guy was just running circles around the octagon, which, granted, I gotta give it to Strickland. In the 9 minutes that was left, his linear slips, like his head movement on that linear line, was very, very impressive, because Dricus could not land a clean shot on his nose in 9 whole minutes. He could not land one. And Dricus was landing like decent shots, and it was like here and here, like he was very, very close. And if that landed on Strickland's nose clean, like Strickland would have gone. He would have been out for sure. I mean, just sustaining that damage and crushing it even more, that just folds people. And Strickland's tough as hell, but that would fold him too. I'm very confident about that. But regardless, Strickland made it through, didn't get taken out on a stretcher or anything. And I'm happy that that was the case, because him on the mic, I mean, just funny as always. Whenever you get a fighter that takes the microphone away from DC, they've always got something good to say, especially when DC's fucking chasing them around the octagon to try and get the fucking thing back. It was good. I mean, Strickland obviously saying, I'd break my nose anytime for you guys, like really wins over the Australian fans again, because there are a couple boos in there. I mean, the Australian fans are just fucking unhinged, to be honest. Like, I mean, I'm Aussie, but man, there were some people in there, like, there were full chants saying buddy Ilia Topuria's brother was a wanker, Prado was an absolute wanker. People were just absolutely nuts, but it all added to it. But yeah, Strickland on the mic won all the fans back over again, and Dricus going through this now, the most dominant performance he's had, without a doubt. Absolutely incredible performance. Now, what's next for him? Obviously, elephant in the room. He is at the end of the fight with his speech that he had when he got the title. He's literally just yelled out, basically, who is there? And he's staring straight at Alex Pereira's face. And Alex Pereira, obviously being in Strickland's corner, he was right there in the octagon as well. And is that fight going to happen next? No, it's not, and it shouldn't be happening next. I think that is a fight that definitely could be made, especially if Dricus gets through who he is supposed to fight next, who he confirmed in the post-fight presser he is going to fight next, and that's going to make a shit ton of money for the UFC. It is all pros, no cons. Make Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev, UFC 318. That's what I want to see. Possibly it could be International Fight Week, but I think that's where we could be looking at Jones versus Aspinall. I mean, I explained all of this in predicting all my main events of 2025. If you haven't checked that out, I will leave that in the description below. But yeah, I believe 318, that is the time for Khamzat versus Dricus, and that is easily the best middleweight fight that could be made. Now, looking at Sean Strickland, what's next for him? He's got a couple options here. I mean, we've got KO Baralho, who is someone that needs another fight to get into that position to fight for the title. Now, there is also, when we look at Dricus in the post-fight presser, he did bring up a good point in terms of KO Baralho and Nassourdine Imavov. Those two, if they fight, it's just undisputed that they get a title fight, without a doubt, especially after Imavov's just beaten Izzy. Arguably, Imavov could already get the title fight, but I feel like just with the way it's backed up, depending on how long Imavov wants to wait for, that's what could be a tricky thing. So when it comes to Strickland, I think KO Baralho would be my last option. Now, the main two options, which I'm sure you guys could guess, it's got to either be Israel Adesanya for the second fight. Izzy 100% wants that fight. Would Strickland want that fight? I don't think he would. I don't think he'd want it again. Could Strickland beat Izzy again? 100% yes, I believe he could. It could go either way, but does Strickland have anything to gain from it? I mean, aside from getting pushed straight up to a title fight again, I mean, Izzy isn't really holding that much weight anymore in that sense, because Imavov has just beaten him and he's taken all that weight from him. Imavov has literally bounced to that point where he could get a title fight from beating Izzy. So if Izzy gets beaten again from Strickland, it doesn't give him as much of a push as a lot of people are probably going to think. So there is that option there with Izzy, but I think the best fight to make with Strickland, it's got to be Robert Whittaker. I mean, Robert Whittaker versus Strickland. I mean, Strickland says that Whittaker was a can. He says that he's only got blitzers. I mean, let's fucking find out. Let's see if Whittaker can shut him up or if Strickland can completely shut him down. Karate style versus that Philly shell boxing. Yeah, I am 100% here for that fight. I'd be super keen for it. So a pretty good main event, but I think the co-main event stole the show. And speaking of that co-main event, we had Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. Got this prediction on the dot. I thought Weili would be able to win by a decision here, and she got it done fantastically well. Did I think she would be as dominant as she was? No. I thought it would be a 48-47. Now, you can argue it's probably is either a 50-45 or a 49-46, depending on that first round with Tatiana's control. I believe that Tatiana did take that first round, just based more so heavily off it, because Weili, she did get the reversal, beautiful reversal, but it was very late into that first round. But aside from that, Weili absolutely fucking dog walked Tatiana Suarez. She looked absolutely incredible. I mean, the biggest point to make here, she out wrestled, she out transitioned Tatiana Suarez literally at the best part of her own game, which is that whole wrestling base. Weili did a fantastic job. She showed her strengths there. Transitionally was pretty much flawless in this fight. When we saw how well she performed in that second round, literally when it came to the ground game, I was like, shit, I don't know if Tatiana's actually going to make it to the fifth round. She got clipped with a very, very clean shot where it snapped her chin back and she got wobbled bad. I believe that was in the third round. And granted, respect to Tatiana, she dragged through, she got through to the decision, but Weili absolutely dominated her, and that is fantastic underdog money on Weili. So she started as a favorite, but getting swelled to almost a $2.50 underdog. I hope a lot of you guys made some money on that one, because Weili absolutely just destroyed her, and she's got my performance of the night for sure. She looked incredible. She stole the show, not only with her performance, but just her persona anyway, because it went to the ceremonial weigh-ins, just her Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. I mean, even when she won the fight, I mean, the fans absolutely, honestly, I think there was borderline more cheers for Weili than there was for bloody Strickland coming out. Weili has got Australia on lock, and with a performance like that, I mean, you got to respect it. Now, what's for her? What's next for her? I would probably be looking at Virna Jandiroba. I think Virna Jandiroba has put in a lot of work. She's looked fantastic. She's just taking everyone out. And when it comes to the ground game, offensively, she, aside from obviously Tatiana's guillotine, Virna Jandiroba is the most dangerous fighter on the ground for sure. Very, very dangerous. And in those positions that Weili had Tatiana, Virna Jandiroba can't be kept in those positions, because she can find ways to easily finish that fight. So Virna Jandiroba, as well as just being able to show that striking improvement that she has. I mean, Virna Jandiroba is very, very good with the jab, with distance management as well, and that would be interesting against Weili there. So I think that that is a very competitive fight, and Virna Jandiroba isn't getting any younger, so I think she does deserve the shot. But aside from that, Weili is arguably, obviously, along with Joanna, I mean, just the GOAT of strawweight. She definitely deserves to fight Valentina Shevchenko, but I believe if just make the Virna Jandiroba fight first, get through that, at some point next year, man, give her that double champ shot without a doubt. She looked absolutely incredible. Now, Tatiana Suarez, what's next for her? Obviously, tough loss, but she should fight Mackenzie Dern. I think her versus Mackenzie Dern, obviously Mackenzie's not as strong when it comes to the striking. She's definitely improved, but not as strong and can be on Tatiana's level. Tatiana seriously needs to improve her striking. There's no combinations there. She looks stiff as a board, and that's someone that she could possibly compete against. And when it comes to the ground game, I mean, wrestling versus jiu-jitsu, it'll be very interesting to see. And Mackenzie Dern, she deserves that title eliminator fight now after her run that she's been going on. I mean, just beating Amanda Ribas and getting that armbar submission at the start of the year. Yeah, make that fight happen. Now, moving down to the prelims, I want to give a bit of spotlight to the Topuria versus Colby Thicknesse fight, because it's a bit of a spotlight fight for this event. Now, there's no fight card award for this fight in particular, because Alexander Topuria, yes, he won, but he did look pretty lackluster. I mean, the guy, like, wrestling, fantastic, beautiful suplex, like vertical suplex. Could have put Thicknesse out if that landed any closer to his head and his shoulder didn't land first, but he was really biding his time and waiting to catch Thicknesse out with that right hand. And that's what we've seen on the regional scene with Topuria. He's looking a little bit more one-dimensional when it comes to that striking. He was really biding his time in there, and 30-27, I do not believe that should have been the decision, to be honest. Colby Thicknesse, granted, he doesn't have the power or anything, and him shooting wasn't the greatest idea, let's be honest here. And as I said in the predictions, getting to Alexander Topuria with that lower center of gravity, being that shorter guy, shorter legs, it's really hard to get to those hips, and him having such a good wrestling pedigree anyway, it just wasn't the right avenue for Thicknesse to go down. But Thicknesse, in terms of the lateral movement with his body kicks and his ability on the feet to just keep moving and add the volume consistently while not getting in danger and pushed up against the cage. He only got pushed up against the cage and landed on like once or twice through the 15 minutes. I think he looked great. Ultimately, I think Topuria has lost stock in this fight, and Colby Thicknesse has gained it, even though Colby's lost and Topuria's won. I think Colby has honestly, like, he's made a name, and Topuria is right in his post-fight speech. Give Colby Thicknesse a contract after that. I think he looked great. And obviously we had the Ilia versus Alexander Volkanovski, in like both of them in the corner. And this is like Volk versus Ilia 1.5. But are we going to get the second fight? That's what we want to know. And we were going to see if anything was going to come from it in this. Obviously, they didn't want to make it about them. They wanted to make it about said brother and obviously said teammate, which is fair enough. But hopefully they do make this fight for UFC 314 in Miami. Hopefully that starts cooking, because there's been a pattern with the UFC recently where we get like fight announcements for a card like 2 pay-per-views before. So UFC 310, we had the Australian card get announced, and then UFC 309, we had 311 get announced. So it's kind of a pattern. 311, we had 313 get announced. So we didn't get anything for 312 to 314. So that's either spelling out that Ilia and Volk, that's not getting matched up, because why would they not spotlight the two of them while they're literally both at the event to then line up to say, oh, they're headlining this? So it could possibly be, would not be surprised if it's Bilal versus Shavkat at 314 then, if that's not the case, but it still could be Volk versus Ilia. Regardless, keen for either. Now, moving on to the fight of the night, we got to give it to Rongzhu versus Kody Steele. Holy shit balls. This had everyone on their feet. This was incredible. Now, this arguably, I'd probably say it's a 29-28. I did have Rongzhu taking this one by a KO TKO. Kody Steele, my God, this guy's got a fucking chin. This guy was so durable. I mean, he ate shots. He was on skates. He was bad. He got hurt very badly. Rongzhu in the first round, he faced a bit of adversity. Steele did hurt him, but second and third round easily was Rongzhu. Rongzhu was dictating the pace. He was having fun in there. He was literally in flow state. And as a 4-1 dog, oh my goodness, I'm so happy I took him. I hope you guys took Rongzhu as well. I didn't really understand those odds at all as to why Kody Steele was even the favorite. Didn't make sense to me. Free money. And Rongzhu, yeah, fantastic job. I mean, yeah, dictating the pace. Boxing was on point, sticking the jab perfectly, was not allowing Steele to get those real, crazy looping overhands and hooks going, because Rongzhu was literally stifling him with the jab every single time he tried to enter. Absolutely fantastic points from Rongzhu, but on Kody Steele's side as well, the durability, his performance within that first round as well. I mean, non-stop action. This 100% fight of the night. Now, moving back up to the main card, for the fighter to watch, I got to give it to Tallison Texeira, because the guy absolutely bulldozed Justin Tafa. I mean, it's a bit of controversy whether his initial shot before the finishing shot was a groin shot. That's what I'm not sure about, but I mean, granted, he got the finish anyway. It could have been a solar plexus shot easily, so I'm not arguing about that. I had Tafa in this fight, but ultimately I didn't do too bad on the card. Went 7 out of 12, but there were a few upsets in this one. But got some good pulls. Got Gabriel Santos, perfect prediction, rear naked choke round 3 against Jack Jenkins, which was hard to see, but I think it was just too steep for Jack Jenkins at this time to fight a guy like Gabriel Santos. But back to Tallison Texeira, the other Brazilian. Tallison, man, the guy just looked fantastic, not because of just the finish, but the way he set up the finish. He shot for a single leg, which Tafa, I'm sure, was not expecting. Shot for a single leg, closed the distance completely, and then he obviously has a huge arm reach at 83 inches, but then he just flings the elbow straight through, crushes bloody Tafa's nose, just wrecks it, and he was done. I mean, ridiculously short fight, which I guess we kind of expect that when it comes to those two heavyweights. But yeah, he is looking like a problem, especially being so young at like 24 years of age. I'm very keen to see him through heavyweight, because heavyweight is a pile of dust at the moment. This guy's probably going to get a top 15 fight, like probably in his next fight. But I mean, if he's having performances like this and he's able to mix up his game with possible single legs and getting the wrestling going, I'm keen to see him. Now, moving on to finish of the night, and we're going all the way back to the first fight, which is going to be Quillan Salkilld getting that finish against Anshu Jubli. Now, I had Anshu Jubli as an underdog to get this one by decision, and this is where it's a bit tricky, because, I mean, there is a lot of people in the MMA space, me kind of included. Honestly, I'm 50-50 on the fence, that thought that this was an early stoppage. Now, There, 50% of me that says that it's not, is that when Salkilld hit him, he fucking dropped like a sack of potatoes. He dropped hard. And when the ref sees that, you think he's out cold. So there is that possibility there. But the other 50%, which is the issue, Anshu Jubli recovered very well, went straight in to grab both legs, went like he was literally just trying to maintain posture and to stop him from striking. And then that's when it got called. So you can understand his frustration there. And I do think, honestly, if the fight went on, I still think that Anshu Jubli could have got a win there just with that straight strike, the straight strikes that he does have, and his ability on top as well. I think that he could have honestly performed. Because Salkilld, yes, he got the finish like super fast, second fastest finish in lightweight behind Terrence McKinney, but looking at him going through a fight with actual minutes in time, I'm not too impressed. I mean, he doesn't have the greatest striking defense. I mean, he's got pretty looping based hooks, doesn't use a lot of straight strikes usually, which he did in this one, and he looked fantastic. But giving the fight a little bit more depth and time, we could probably see some holes there. Now, if Anshu Jubli, obviously that's rough for India as a nation when it comes to MMA. That is a big blow, but game's the game. Salkilld, beautiful finish. Looking at the upset of the night, gotta give it to Jonathan Micallef, the Aussie underdog, pulling through hard. He looked fantastic in this fight. Can't believe this threw me off completely. I was very confident that Kevin Jousset was going to win this fight. Kevin Jousset looked slow, very slow with his striking. His timing when it came to his strikes, going first in the exchanges, he was losing almost every exchange. I mean, Micallef dropped him in the first round with a head kick, and he was going second. And when Micallef has that, even when it's 2 inches of reach advantage, 77 to 75, he was landing those shots as buddy Jousset was going in, trying to throw strikes in the exchange and then obviously missing, and he has to reset. Once he's resetting, Micallef with that reach is able to tag him, and that's what he was doing every single time. He was doing it fantastically well, chewed up the lat, like the side of the body of Kevin Jousset completely. I mean, it was bloody. It was just ripped to shreds by the second round. And I mean, that could have possibly been attributed to why he was so slow, but that's Micallef putting on a great game. I mean, he looked fantastic. His striking, we haven't really seen a whole lot of, but now we have, and he looked great. His chin was there as well. Jousset hit him with some bloody nice shots, especially going through to the third round. But Micallef, honestly, not even having to show much of a ground game there as well. The guy looked very impressive on the feet, and if he can just, utilize that reach and obviously generate some KO power there with that jiu-jitsu base that he does have and how seamlessly he's able to slip in submissions, the guy's gonna be dangerous. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's UFC recap video, and if you want to see more MMA-based content, definitely check out the video on the screen, and please like, comment, subscribe. It really goes a long way for the channel, and I really love engaging with you guys, and I will catch you in the next one.